Hello, good afternoon. And today we are very happy that the ex-Commissioner of Police Mumbai is joining us for a conversation on walkable cities. And Mr. Sanjay Pandey, during his tenure, was responsible for Sunday streets, and he took keen interest in traffic, law and order, and walkability in the city. And we hope that this discussion will be engaging as well as insightful. So, thank you very much, Mr. Pandey, for joining us for this conversation, and we really look forward to speaking with you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, if I may just start off with the first conversation, first question. Is that what we're observing in the streets or roads, and that is a lot of commentary on Twitter as well, as you would already know, is that we are not, we are seeing enforcement standards in a sense go down on the streets by police or traffic police. And we would love to have an idea from you that what is the thinking within or what are the challenges. We are seeing issues like overstepping of the zebra crossing, road rage, also sometimes wrong side driving, which was unheard of in Mumbai, especially with all these delivery boys, etc. happening. Then there are second-hand car showrooms, garages on the road, hawkers. So it'd be great if we can have your thoughts on this kind of range of topics or issues which I've raised.
So, to start off, when you were talking about the problems which are there on the road, when we talk about walkability, zebra crossings, you talked about lot of various things in one go. Let me break them down a bit as to my understanding. First and foremost, when I was the commissioner and even as a citizen in Bombay, or that's true for many cities in India. You know what? Our development has not been in a manner in which we have any planned development going around in most places in the city of Bombay as well as elsewhere in India. You see, what happened is that people had already built the houses, and the houses had come up, and then the roads came into being. And when the roads came into being, the traffic followed. And when the traffic came, then the police started thinking about how they will manage the traffic. You see, you may not be aware, but in initial days, there wasn't any. I'm not just talking about Bombay, but other places. There wasn't a real traffic department. There was a police department, and then later on, this became an offshoot. So a matter of an afterthought is always there. So whenever something has not been planned, something which was not existing earlier on paper, always will have gaps. And the unfortunate part is that Bombay has had many more gaps, and that's what we are experiencing. Uh, Now come to our enforcement, and when we talk about traffic on the roads, now as I said, the roads are were not planned. Uh, in the similar manner, vehicular traffic also is not planned. What I'm saying is the kind of absolute liberty to have as many vehicles. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have vehicles at all. But there was, if you see in Bombay also, some restrictions have been placed, which which have helped in some manner. If you see beyond Mahim, or you cannot really have an auto rickshaw go beyond that. The reason again was traffic, and I think that's something which has sustained so far. But why only limit to just some kind of vehicles? I'm saying to limit the number of vehicles on the road is a need. It has been done elsewhere in the world. If you don't have some kind of density of the cars per foot or per meter of the road, available road, needs to be probably done, and only then. So again, it comes back to planning and enforcing these plans. So that's the crux of the matter. Rest of it follows from there. If you had a planned city, I keep visiting Chandigarh. We don't have an issue about where the zebra crossing is, how the traffic will behave, and how many cars on the roads. I think it's very well managed in Chandigarh in that manner. Full marks to them. Yeah. So that's what I'd say. Planning is probably the key here, and that's where we are missing. And everything that we're trying to do is an afterthought, including the traffic policing, including management of the roads and the traffic. Yes.
My question was fairly similar to what Rishi asked. So we have often seen, I mean, walking in Dadar, walking in Mahim, walking in Parel, and even in the BKCA for that matter, that sometimes traffic cops have these barricades put up right on the top of the zebra crossing. So from what I can understand, they are doing that fairly mainly because vehicles do the U-turn thing where it is not allowed. And I mean, putting a barricade solves that problem, obviously. But somehow I feel that is where I mean, pedestrians, the route for the pedestrians is completely blocked. And overall, when you look at the solution that the traffic cops look for over here, it feels like there is some kind of empathy missing towards pedestrians, or I mean, a psychological mindset problem that exists in the traffic police. So, do you think there is a system-wide shift that is necessary, where like the traffic cops are looking at their purpose in society more of in kind of a m- more focused towards the mobility of people as a whole instead of just the vehicle traffic that we are looking at currently?
Well, from my experience, though it's in whatever number of months I was around as a commissioner of police, and even as a police person, I think the basic responsibility that the traffic police today has is to ensure that the vehicular movement is proper. Now, if you talk about pedestrians and if you talk about managing people who are walking on the pavements or who are wanting to cross the roads, I think that is something which probably takes a very low priority uh, in the scheme of things. Because you see, the number of cars going around on the limited number of roads, getting managed and making sure there's no bottleneck is at the uppermost of mind of the traffic constables. So I'm not saying that they have forgotten about what their duties are, but see the immensity of the entire situation. And then there is a fine for jaywalking and stuff like that. As a commissioner, I had probably considered that as well. But you will see that the citizens have got so used to using the entire road as a walkable street, even though there are dangers associated with it, that it would have been very difficult. And today also, for any commissioner, it will be very difficult to start imposing jaywalking fines. Uh, so the situation remains where it is. Our priority of the traffic department has been and will be making sure that the limited Bombay roads uh, do not lead to any bottlenecks. The citizens, the persons who are walking on the street, unfortunately for the walking street project as well, somehow doesn't get the kind of attention it should. And I believe, as you ask more, maybe we'll try to focus on what and how we can probably bring the walking rights into focus. Yeah.
So just to follow up on what you said, Mr. Pandey, then this brings also into the question that this is something which the traffic police or the police department alone cannot manage. It will require multi-agency coordination. It will necessarily require working or inputs from BMC, MMRDA, PWD, maybe a lot of other departments as well. And do you think that kind of sophisticated planning and discussion happens? We keep talking smart cities, but it'll be good if you can share insight on what is the inter-agency coordination situation.
I can give this answer in a slightly different manner. My point is, I have been given a limited canvas, and in that limited canvas, I have to really fit in so many things. The things are that people also want cycle tracks, people want to walk around, people want certain kind of uh, facilities which exist internationally, like there should be signals, there should be road crossing signals, there should be some time limits on them. All that is well said. And I think they have tried that also because he had a cycle track which they have been uh, there was inaugurated with a lot of fanfare. But where is the cycle track gone? My point is there isn't much space on that canvas to really put any more artifacts, and that's where the problem lies. Uh, I had someplace mentioned this that probably there is a limit to which a city can grow. When I say that, people will say, "Look, you are being retrograde." I'm not being retrograde. Somebody told me on Twitter saying, "What do you mean?" When I said that offices should also have some kind of a density index, and as we have on the roads, we should have a density index for the number of cars to the length and breadth of the road. Similarly, the number of offices. You see, why the traffic, why the crowding in South Bombay, why the crowding in BKC, why the crowding in Andheri or say Borivali? It's only because that we have certain number of offices which have come into being. Every day we have these train issues, uh, not totally related to walking, but you see people are crowding the trains. Why everybody wants to come to South Bombay, Central and Western lines totally full at 9 o'clock? Because our density of offices, we haven't really thought about it. Anybody can open this office anywhere, and there's no limit. Similarly, anybody can build a house anywhere. If at all there's a builder who got the FSI, any number can come and stay there. So this has to, right from my first answer, uh, we have to think about developing our suburbs, go outside, say Khargar area, say Pali, all beautiful landscapes. We probably need to build them, and we probably make sure that people do go there rather than from Badlapur, mindless travel, and then mindless walk in say Dadar, go to the vegetable market there you and then there's a flower market as well. The kind of filth it generates, and people have don't no space to walk. So I think that's my answer. I mean, I sorry, there is a limited space in Bombay, and Bombay can't grow anymore. More facilities have to be given. Then even MMRDA and BMC can't do much. The coordination is good between the police wherever they want encroachments to be removed. Otherwise, it happens. But to ensure that to say that they will produce any fantastic results. And as I said, on a limited paper, you can paint only as much. You can't do anymore. Yeah.
So within this, I have a few things to add. Mainly, like you mentioned, you think that Mumbai has a overall paucity of space, and we have somewhere reached the outer limits of expansion. So my general argument usually is that we see Tokyo, we see Delhi, all of these cities have a much uh, larger urban population, and I agree with you at that point. Ki we need the city itself to expand, the metropolitan region itself to expand. More jobs need to be created in the outer spaces of the city. But also that raises another question. So I'll give you an example. I think 4 years ago, around COVID, the CST intersection was redone into a more pedestrianized space. They had done curb extensions, they put up paint and reduced the available space for vehicles. But there was this article that I had read, which basically said that politicians started complaining that there's too much traffic that this is causing. And I mean, traffic police also at some point said, "Ki we are not gonna the system, this whole improvement thing that is being provided, it is causing too much traffic issues." So I think as a city, there is somewhere a need to prioritize pedestrians and mobility, like non-motorized transport mobility outside railway stations, like CST. 17 platforms. It serves Harbour Line, Central Line. Churchgate Station is barely a kilometer and a half from there. So this is a location which is very transit dense, where people can actually come via their buses, can come via trains. And at such locations, if we are still looking at the throughput of vehicles as the only parameter for development and mobility, then I think it becomes problematic. Would you agree with that statement?
No, I totally agree. I feel the areas in South Bombay as a commissioner, I wanted to impose no car zones. Then this came up with the idea: what happens when it rains? I mean, when there are every kind of excuse can exist, but I actually had started thinking about using Mahalakshmi as a parking lot and start. I'd spoken to bike fellows who were going to rent the bikes out, and I also had talked to some limited number of taxis which could ferry you in a bus or something from that place. The idea was to stop everything in Mahalakshmi and then make the entire thing free. Uh, so I think it didn't work out. I mean, it didn't work out, and politicians, if they are saying so, they must have also heard many citizens start and complain. As they complained to me, he said, "Mr. Pandey, you got a bizarre idea. What happens if it's going to rain?" I said, "We will provide you." I mean, I had a limited time, but I still thought there should be no car zones, there should be no construction zones, there should be no noise zones already there. Look at the railway stations. I used to get a morning report from the railway stations. They used to flash me the photographs. There's a high court order. You cannot have any vendor between some 100 meters, if I'm not wrong, on the either side of the railway station. But then this brings us to the issue of how will these hawkers survive, the vendors, the livelihood issues come into picture. But still, we got them cleared. As, but then this is temporary. I mean, this is not the answer. The answer lies in a planned network. I mean, I do, as I said, I do visit Chandigarh. Every sector here on a different weekday has a mandi, and all those guys only come into those places. They have those places, and I think you're going to ask, and you should, that these vending committees were supposed to be there. The vendors' places are to be there, but yeah, so this is the problem. I totally agree, and I empathize uh, as for this point with the politicians because when I was there also, they objected. They said no car zone, no, 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 this doesn't work, and so that's the whole problem. Yeah.
I can see the whole political angle of it. I mean, it becomes it is also a political economy thing where it itself becomes very. It's challenging for them to say कि नहीं तुम कल से कार नहीं ला सकते आपको पे करना पड़ेगा. Like I mean, all of these problems that they have solved in London with the congestion prices, in Singapore with the uh, certificate of entitlement for owning a car and a personal vehicle. यहाँ पे it becomes very difficult. And I completely empathize with you that the police itself simply cannot do this. Is a policy level problem that needs to be tackled that way.
Yeah,
So
and the
one thing
citizens,
yeah.
just to add on, and the citizens have to cooperate. I mean, citizens also, they want to have absolute freedom of walking anywhere and wherever. I mean, if you start imposing zebra lines, uh, if you do that, people also have to obey. And it's not true that, and let them be angry, but I do believe that the citizens also sometimes overdo and they don't really obey these zebra crossings while there are none of them, and that's the problem. Yeah, so the matter is a catch 22 situation here, certainly. Yeah, please. Yeah, Rishi, you were asking something. Yes.
No, it's very interesting. You already jumped into the hawker, so you've already addressed one of the questions. But we also keep seeing that you already addressed, but also the parking issue. So we continuously keep talking, and you've already touched in that unlimited growth in terms of commercial spaces, offices, cars is really causing havoc. And unfortunately, in the past decade, I think we've been giving more and more FSI, which is BMC basically, which means that the city will have now much more residences, offices, more people, whereas the streets are exactly the same. But I'm just saying, ki what has been the work on parking policy? Because there is a Mumbai Parking Authority as well, even though we don't know what's been happening. But what are your thoughts on parking on the streets, charging for parking, and what is the kind of thinking within the departments?
My thoughts are pretty bleak, actually. To be honest with you, when I was the commissioner, I said there will be no towing. And there was a hue and cry. I said, no towing. Well, if you park on the junction, obviously we'll tow you. But then there won't be a towing. Tell me, again, very first thing which I said, where are we? Acha, okay, we plan a parking lot. Okay, we probably had to go under the sea and plan the parking lot. There is a parking lot close by, I think, in South Bombay, which was multi-storied, which was made and it's not being used. Again, again, something to do with the people's habits and not being able to and chalta hai kind of thing. So they do it. And how many people do you charge? So my point is, in this city, there is a paucity of roads. As long as I remember, and today I see there is coastal roads, then there is some peripheral things which have been made up and down, something beyond the sea, something above the sea. But there are only two roads, that is the Eastern Express and the Western Express. Traditionally, they are the only two roads that exist, and others are all ulterior roads. Where do you see the parking here? Wherever there could have been a parking situation, that has already been taken over by the extended TDRs or the extended FSIs which have been given. Uh, I remember an incident which I like to share with you. I was a very young ACP in Pune, and I was a ACP of Deccan Gymkhana. I somehow had read the rule book that there cannot be a hotel without a parking. There cannot be a restaurant or eating place without a parking. I imposed that. I will not take the name of that particular hotel in Deccan Gymkhana. And the hell was let loose on me. I was just an ACP. There are so many hotels which exist in the city of Bombay. If I say this and if I am tomorrow standing as a politician, they will boycott me. There is no planning. I mean, if they say there's a planning authority, I salute those guys who have become the part of the planning authority because they are probably getting good salaries after retirement or before retirement. Where will you plan? How will you plan? Will you plan these parking lots in some air? Unless until you dig below, there is no place because they've already built houses, they've already built. Uh, so I believe, and now imagine to charge a two-wheeler to charge a two-wheeler, show me a two-wheeler parking in the city. Where is the two-wheeler parking? So a two-wheeler parking, now I'm come back to politics. In Warsaw, boys get lifted every second day. Where is the parking for them? You don't have a parking, you don't have a right to really charge. I mean, that's what I say. And I had written a letter to the commissioner at that time, the BMC commissioner. I said, look, boss, we should sit together and start thinking about this parking authority. I have my doubts whether you can do anything here. So let's talk about no car zones and stuff like that. Parking is a major issue, and I think whoever has designed the parking authority will be doing an architectural wonder in Bombay City by trying to develop or invent or produce a parking space where there is people are dying to really get a foothold either of their business or of their residence. So that's probably a primary need as of now, and that also is not being catered to. हमें रोटी कपड़ा मकान के बाद ही ये सब चीजें आती हैं and that was my basic aim कि भाई unless I provide them with basic facilities I can't charge them, but that will be anarchy. So uh, जहां तक आप कर सकते हैं करिए, but I think they have to limit. I'll also relate you another incident. You see, I mean, about the parking and which is related to parking. I do not know how many of your viewers do know that if I purchase an auto rickshaw or a taxi, I have to show a parking place. Without a parking place, I cannot buy an auto rickshaw or a taxi. Imagine what happens to people in Dharavi. The guys in Dharavi have to show a parking space. They show it near Kurla. They show it near that sign station because they can't take that auto rickshaw to their house. By the morning when they come, the canopy is stolen. But imagine this to my Juhu road, Juhu, Warsaw, great people. I also stay in Warsaw. One family got about four cars, and each car is probably is. I mean, I'm when I used to, I still see some of these bigger cars. They are as good as my mini buses, which I used to travel in a school when there was a mini bus. So if these mini buses are being turned into cars, and each family had got 3 to 4 cars, and they do not at absolute gay abandon. Nobody asked them for parking. So why? I mean, I think to start from there, let these guys who are purchasing these cars show a parking space, let them have a parking space in the society, not outside the society. Many of them park outside the society, and that's allowed because they staying here. How they are creating a problem on the road. So these are drastic measures. And let me tell you this: this government or any government, they are capable of taking drastic steps. How did we control the population explosion? I mean, forget about what Elon Musk says that we should keep producing, and he has produced probably a cricket team or more than that, he himself. But imagine what this government did. If you know or don't, but there is something called a family kind of law which they have made that anybody in government, if you want to do in government job, if you got 3 kids, you cannot come to a government job. It's as simple as that. If you have more than 3 kids while you are in the government job, your person will not get any benefits in case you die on in service or do not get any kind of compensatory benefits. So isn't this a drastic thing? To me, actually, I'm a lawyer too. I believe that if there are more kids, actually they are in more financial need. But they wanted to restrict the population, and it has been upheld. Even Rajasthan government, it has been upheld by the Supreme Court. Yes, your law is right. Why can't then they do this? Because if you have so many ration card holders, if you have so many income tax payers, I think this is the total number of cards that you can have. I mean, maybe again, it will affect only 2% of the population because the income tax paid by only 2%. But whatever that be, I think there has to be a very strict policy to the number of cars, to the number of vehicles. Only then you can probably think about having having some kind of semblance of parking anywhere in this city, because this city is actually I shouldn't say that, but I think it's grown to a limit that it probably cannot grow any further. You may design whatever, up and down flyover, this, that. Ultimately, you land up in Nariman Point. Very good. You would drive it out of the sea link and go into the coastal road. It is a dream drive. But then what happens when you land in Nariman Point? The other day we were there to join the Congress. My God, it was like Kalba Devi was absolutely choco block. So that's the issue. So I think I did address your question. This parking authorities and the parking lots, I think is a big thought. It probably will probably never have materialized. It materializes only for the guys who are on the authority.
No, I'll
So
just quickly add to that. So, because now that you've joined politics as well, and it'll be very interesting. You'll see both sides of the divide. But just to bring in, like, see, if you see all the kind of industrialized West, which is where the automobile boom happened during the 60s, 70s, whether it is Netherlands, UK, Germany, Spain, everybody is working towards exactly the same issues which you're talking, which we are discussing right now, because everybody has faced problem with unrestrained growth of vehicles. And people have realized that unrestrained growth of vehicles then has so many other social economic damage that whatever the addition to GDP that is caused by the automobile sector is then soon offset by the negative externality. So, I do think anytime in the near future we are going to see that kind of sophistication in our governance or in our thinking, in our planning come about. Because the way we see it right now, I think the scenario seems very despondent. I mean, the roads are, I think, 700 cars we are adding per day, and that is really squeezing out pedestrians, cyclists. It's even squeezing out cars, like you speak correctly saying. So, why aren't we taking this kind of thinking from the industrialized West?
no, we should. Time has come. Though I still don't believe that everything which is in the West is good for the East. We have very many things which we probably lack before we even dream where we are looking at. But the fact is, right in front of you, there has to be, and this kind of policy will have to exist. Uh, that Again, I relate somewhere I read that why in the US the car purchases over a period of time aren't really increasing, whereas in India we are changing cars. Somebody said it's depreciation, but I think what I really saw and which I probably agree with, it is ostentatiousness, just to show off. And so the bigger the car, the better you are. though the car is a means of transport in the Western countries, it has become a means of showing where you are. So, this mindset has, and I think as a politician, if at all I get a chance, I'm just an OIS. I think vehicular traffic and the position of these cars has to be linked to some kind of statistical standard. You cannot buy beyond, even if you have so much more money, you probably cannot have almost a cavalcade. Many of these have cavalcades, like they come out. Now there are security guards. After security guards, there are more security guards. So like three, four, even private fellows are traveling like that, which is a shame. I mean, I think it's true even for people who are in politics that look. First of all, there's pollution, and then this kind of ostentatiousness is actually not. I was very touched when I saw a Danish prime minister, if I'm not wrong. He was the one who went out on a bike when he handed over charge just recently. It was. I mean, I think that's how it should be, and that's the only way. Some very hard pills will have to be taken. If I get a chance, I started doing wrong side driving, finding them FIRs, and I was again taken to the cleaners by the city saying that, "Arey, my young kids, they'll lose their jobs. Not that they're going to lose their jobs, but then people are losing their lives." Yesterday, Gurgaon incident, which happened, my God, I mean, so horrific. And the guy is totally, and I'm told he's bailed out immediately after the moment the FIR was registered. So, anyways, those are my issues. You have to take some hard decisions. I got a chance. I will certainly. I may not. Sorry, man, because of this show, if I lose some votes, I'll blame you guys. but I believe that there's some hard decisions have to be taken. You took a hard decision. You can't go beyond two kids. Why can't you take a hard decision that a family cannot go beyond two cars? I mean, two is more than enough. I mean, what do you want? I mean, you don't want to start a transport business in your family. So that's what I say. I don't know if I answered you, but this is what I think.
No, no, very well. I think that was very, very good input. Vedant, you have something that I would love to discuss
Yeah.
important project, but Vedant, go ahead.
Yeah, so since Rishi also mentioned that you're joining, you're getting into politics. So I have a couple of policies from abroad that I love, that I would like to shed some light on if you ever get chance to get into
Sure.
policy thing. So in like you mentioned, Singapore has a certificate of entitlement where you have to. Where you need to show first of all it is like multiples of the price of the car itself. So car if agar 10 lakh ka hai to that certificate of entitlement brings up that price to 50-60 lakhs, and there is also limited amount of certificates that are given. So the city controls the total number of vehicles circulating around in the city for a time period. I think it is frozen for the past 5 or 6 years. And regarding parking, I think the strictest that I have found so far is the Japanese method, the Japanese what they have done basically. And this has been a policy since the 1950s. So even before like vehicles existed. So countrywide in Japan right now, you cannot overnight park your car anywhere in the entire country of Japan. So the maximum in the country it is 60 minutes तक आप गाड़ी पार्क कर सकते हो, 60 minutes. And in the city of Tokyo, the thing is that you can park for 40 minutes at the maximum. So, for example, I mean, अगर मेरा गाड़ी है and I'm going to the railway station, I want to buy something, I want to shop around. I go there, I park for 40 minutes, and then तब तक shopping करके I return back and come back with the car. But I cannot take the car to the station, then keep it there, take the train, go to Bombay, work and come back. So car over there is not used as a mode of last mile connectivity, mainly because एक तो पहले ही transportation system is amazing. You can walk to the nearest metro station, sit on it, and directly go to your location. And I think with the metro coming up, with other transportation investment that the government is doing, that we will reach that level somewhere. But in tandem, if we bring in some policy like Japan, that would help a lot. And also like Japanese system में parking, there are on street parking is mostly unavailable, सब road पे नहीं होता है. कुछ कुछ जगह पे बहुत ऐसे कम ये होता है, बट वहाँ पे भी डीमार्केट अच्छे से किया होता है कि ये एक बॉक्स है, यू कैन पार्क इन दैट, यू हैव टू बाय अ टिकट, एंड दैट मेक्स इट वेरी इजी एंड सिंपल फॉर द लोकल पुलिस फोर्स टू एक्चुअली एनफोर्स, क्योंकि वहाँ पे पता है इसके अंदर गाड़ी है तो लीगल है, इसके बाहर है तो इलीगल है, एंड इट रिड्यूसेस दैट एनफोर्समेंट का जो रिक्वायरमेंट होता है यहाँ पे। आई मीन देयर इज अ पार्किंग, बेसिकली इट इज लाइक पार्किंग साइन नहीं है, लाइक नो पार्किंग साइन नहीं है तो यू कैन पार्क एनीवेयर, यू कैन, वहाँ पे उल्टा है, यू कैन पार्क ओनली वेयर इट इज मार्क्ड कि यू हैव टू पार्क। दैट इज समथिंग I love these two policies that Japan and Singapore has put up.
नहीं, देखो हम सब कुछ कर सकते हैं, देयर हैज टू बी ए विल। वही मैं तो आई टोटली बिलीव कि देयर हैज टू बी, यू हैव एक्सप्लेन्ड इट सो वेल अबाउट सिंगापुर। देयर हैज टू बी, मतलब यहाँ तो ऐसा है कि शायद एंटाइटलमेंट आपका कम भी हो लेकिन आपके पास कार सबसे बड़ी होनी चाहिए। एज आई सेड, इट्स नॉट अ मींस ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्ट, इट्स अ मींस ऑफ शो बिजनेस। So that should end. And when the city doesn't have parking, when the cities has limited roads, should there not be a limit in Bombay saying that look, beyond this there's a moratorium? And आप तो सिर्फ चालू हालत की गाड़ियों की बात कर रहे हैं। आप ये सोचिए कि our roads in Bombay are also being occupied by खटारास। अभी आपको मैं आई टेक यू टू अ प्लेस आई स्टे नेक्स्ट डोर, there's HDFC बैंक अक्रॉस, वो वहाँ जो मेन रोड जुहू JVPD की तरफ जाती है, there are number of cars standing there which are khadaras, and nobody wants them. When I was commissioner, I started lifting these khadaras. Okay, then the question is, you lift the khatara and put them where? So the entire issue, when I started saying the planning, now I did not realize, okay, I'll remove these khataras. The police station started objecting, where do I dump them? So when we looked at, तो जो उधर दहीसर की तरफ एक डंपिंग यार्ड है, we can probably go and do that. So okay, we thought that. I approached a very well-known car manufacturer who are selling a lot of Jeeps and otherwise. They quoted a mind-boggling rate, which I said, for scrapping the cars. The scrapping facility is actually a big business, but in the car market today, the government probably doesn't have or probably is planning to. तो अब हम सिर्फ मोटरेबल कार्ड्स की बात तो हम करते ही करते हैं, बट द नंबर ऑफ मोटरेबल कार्ड्स, I do not know whether this is the subject matter here, but I should, because the audience and I'm also a sufferer. Now these khataras are also being made by the law. The law says कि 15 साल हो गया तो डीजल कार खत्म, 25 साल हो गया भले ही। नाउ द गवर्नमेंट सर्वेंट्स कम टू मी एंड दे हैव बीन आस्किंग मी कि साहब आप अगर कभी गलती से एमएलए बन जाए तो इसके बारे में बात करें कि भाई ये कैसे, हमने गाड़ी चलाई नहीं, हमारे पास गाड़ी थी, and that vehicle ran only 6,000 kilometers and now it is 15 plus by age आप कर रहे हैं ना, you will destroy the car, you will discard the car, but what will you do, where will you take them, where are the facilities? So both ways, parking is a problem, purchasing a car is a problem, and then discarding a car is an even bigger problem in Bombay city. So many places the khadaras are there. When I took it up, it started working, but then I realized that after a while you cannot really scrap the cars. How do you scrap the car? I don't have the facility, and the car scrapping fellows were asking a bomb. I don't want to name them, but then they did, and so it didn't work. So it's all coupled with this and the policy issues which you mentioned. Some of them will have to be आज नहीं तो कल. Otherwise, how will you? How many flyovers will you make? How many links will you make? How many coastal roads? It doesn't work. I mean, after all this, we have what you saw yesterday in Pune, that entire 15 foot ka tanker went inside as if it was like a diving pool. If you saw it on Twitter, there was a tanker which was going. The road caved
Yes, yes.
in. So मेरा कहना है कि you cannot really construct beyond a limit. This earth can, this limited space can take only limited number of roads. God forbid if anything sinks in the coastal road, because here to at least the guy was on surface. In the coastal road, if it goes sinks like this, then you go on. So my issue is that coming back to that, some hard questions, some policies will have to be made. If the city gives a chance to me, I certainly will, and I'll certainly raise these issues of lose votes for this or not. But I think I'm talking about convenience of the citizens, not only those who own the cars, but also those who don't own the cars, and they are actually also have an equal right on the roads. So Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Please go
Right.
ahead.
So in fact, you did mention whether this is part of subject matter, and I feel that the past 20 minutes we've digressed, or not digressed, but that cars have become such a terrible kind of a thing on our streets that we have to proportionate. But I would just love to bring the discussion towards the end, towards walkability, because as walking project, what we are aiming is, and especially in Mumbai and the Mumbai metropolitan region, because unlike Delhi or Chandigarh, this is a very dense area, which means per square kilometer और भी ज़्यादा लोग रह रहे हैं every square kilometer of Mumbai, which makes walking a preferred option because बहुत ही short distance पे आप अपने घर से ऑफिस जा सकते हैं या to shop for groceries or meet a friend or go to the cinema or a park. But if the walking infrastructure itself is so bad, then people, even if they have to walk in a park which is 1 kilometer away, two, three people will get together, get into a car, they will drive to the park, they will park over there, they'll take their walk in the garden, and then they come back home. So we are saying this kind of a thing is kind of unacceptable. The city streets should have walking infrastructure, which is as per guidelines. This is not a matter of opinion. There is an Indian Road Congress. उसने एक पेडेस्ट्रियन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की गाइडलाइंस निकाली हैं, फुटपाथ की विड्थ इतनी होनी चाहिए, फुटपाथ की डिजाइन ऐसे होने चाहिए, सरफेस क्वालिटी, ट्रीटमेंट, स्लोप, lighting, hygiene, street furniture, everything is this thing. But unfortunately, we are not seeing it in implementation. Versova, जहाँ आप बात कर रहे हो, अंधेरी West is such a densely populated area. In the past 20 years, मतलब 20 साल पहले ही ऐसा लगता था कि it is very dense. Now it population has even gone up more. So we really feel that politicians also in the political thing, because again, when coastal road, etc., we mentioned the cost of transport, the infrastructure for cars is so much costlier. 100 rupee, 100 crores per kilometer, etc. Whereas the infrastructure for pedestrians is very less. So we hope that you will also keep this in mind, and hopefully you will have a more active time in politics and get more decision making power. But ultimately, as walking project, we want to see that pedestrians have a safe, convenient, and joyful experience. First is safety; we should not get killed, and second is of course convenience. And we are saying while joyful is the last in those three, but no less important. Because the walking experience, I mean, we have not walked in London, etc., but we can see online. We know people who walk, and we keep getting experiences. Keep people walk in Manhattan, and they say we don't get tired even after we walk 10 kilometers. So we would love to see a Mumbai and all Indian cities to have a great walking infrastructure.
You want me to react?
Huh?
You want me to
Yeah,
react on
please,
this?
please. Yeah. Your
Um,
thoughts on that.
walking project. When you met me and I've gone through it, it's a very good idea. And this idea needs to be reinforced both among the politicians as well as the citizens. The walking, your entire concept that there should be at least a pedestrian walk, which is for you available and not taken over. And I was very touched by the fact that you also mentioned about how a walk just close to the place that I stay is free, and the vendor is actually not taking too much of a road. And your statistics which you quoted, I was pretty impressed that a cost of that person on the road vending probably is much lesser than what it happens when it comes down to the because of the cost. But should I not raise another major issue here? And that major issue is what is the value of life in our country? Yesterday it was just 4 hours in Gurgaon when a guy died and he was out on a bail. And what will happen? Maximum in Pune it was essay writing. In Gurgaon it may be some fine or punishment which will be less than equal to 5 lakhs at best, not more than that. Imagine there is a celebrity in California who ran over, and yesterday a boy was charged 27 damn years. So what I'm saying is, all this, now you'll say, "Arey, again you got a tangent." No, if a guy dies on the road by any kind of motor vehicle or any kind of thing, the punishment should be equal to to death, to the murder. And if you do that, and India में तो चलो that murder also has a limited number of period, but in US the punishment can go into 100 years, even beyond that you are going to be alive. So we have to look at the basics. Why are we so damn uh, say indifferent to our citizens walking on the street? One is that jaywalking, the police is not really finding them, but what police will find them? After all, there is no place to even stand. So if they are walking on the street, what can you do? So that is number one. There's no jaywalking. Number two is that vending spaces haven't been identified. It's been a Supreme Court, it is a central government law which has not been implemented in Bombay City. And then finally, the cost of committing an accident and running over. There are people in Bollywood, they are actually, they have had a few such mishaps and they are celebrated still. So that's the point. If you make a person who is hit on the road because of the pavement not being allowed, not being there, and you make not only just the person who has hit you, but also the urban planners, I think as culprits, we will probably see a change, and that is how we will not see tankers going down, or we will not see wrong side drivings happening. Uh, that's my thought finally, and I salute you for the kind of work you're doing. In whatever manner I can contribute in the area that I am in, I'll certainly work with you and make sure that we have walkable streets in Warsaw, not only just walkable, but clean streets in Warsaw where our older citizens can walk and probably don't risk their lives. So that's what I'm saying. That's what my thought
Yeah,
is.
no, no. Thank you. Thanks a lot for those words of encouragement. We also do community walks now that the monsoon is closing. So we'll hopefully do a few community walks in Andheri West, Versova area. So that time, hopefully, if your schedule permits, then you can join for those walks. And it'll be great to.
I certainly, people may say it's cheap publicity, but then I still want to, and I want to join you in full earnestness, because these are the kind of initiatives should not get limited only to the place that you stay, but should go on to entire Bombay, and why entire Bombay should also be carried on in city like Pune, city like Bangalore. We are talking about something which is very, very crucial. Today I have a mom, 89 years of age, still active. She used to go to Fort Bangalore's walking to fetch vegetables. Now, though, at least she has some problem. But today, I can't even dream that she can go and walk on the street. Even the pavements, it's not only that you have the clear pavement, but make them well. As you said, the Congress has defined, Indian Road Congress has defined certain standards. They should be followed and they should be repaired. You talk about roads being repaired. You talk about potholes being repaired, but what about the pavements? They're also equally a problem. So yeah, well, thanks for inviting me and talking to me. I hope I made sense, and I'll certainly be with you. And I
No, no.
wish all the
Yeah.
best.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we look forward to our next interaction. And I think we'll
Sure.
end the discussion over here. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.